Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat, and today I'm doing my final Women in Translations recommendations video. So I thought that I would overlap it with Latin Heritage Month. I have a lot of favorites, specifically from Argentina, so I thought that I would just shout out Argentinian women in particular. So if you don't know, this is a series that I've done for last month, which was Women in Translation Month. I will leave links to those down below. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. So first my TBR and then the 4 that I recommend. So first up is Dead Girls by Selva Almada. So this is covering 3 different femicide cases in Argentina, which has an extraordinarily high amount of femicide, which is like killing of women in particular. And this is a theme which you'll see later in many of the books that I have read. It's a theme that is very common in Argentinian literature, especially by women, because it's like a very present and horrifying aspect of past and present culture in Argentina. So Dead Girls is focused on 3 specific cases and what happened to like the community and the people who were looking for the women, and all of the cases are unsolved and no one was punished. So it's a book that I want to read, but also I know it's going to be very heavy, and also I know that reading nonfiction hits me in a different way. If I know it's fiction, I can at least sort of pretend that yes, it happened in the author's mind, but like it didn't really happen. But when it's actual true crime, really fucks me up sometimes. So I really want to read it, but also I need to be in a very good space. And then the other one that I'm really interested in is Thus Were Their Faces by Silvina Ocampo. It's the magic of everyday rituals, the forbidden or hidden face that our mirrors don't show. It's talking about creepy doubles, a marble statue of a winged horse that speaks to a girl, a house of sugar that is the site of possession, children who lock their perverse mothers in a room and then burn it, and a lapdog who records the dreams of an old woman. So it says that her reputation is dark, gothic, fantastic, and grotesque, and that these haunting stories are some of the finest. So I'm very intrigued because obviously that sounds just of epic levels. And also the cover is absolutely creepy, which I love a good creepy cover. So yeah, I'm hoping to read this. I think maybe my library might have it because it's a bit of an older book. It was published in 1988 originally. So yeah, those are the 2 that I'm really looking forward to picking up sometime. And without further ado, let's get into the 4 authors that I really recommend. So first up is Samanta Schweblin. So I have read 3 things by Schweblin. I think that's all that's in English currently right now, I believe. So first up, my favorite was Fever Dream, which I read recently this year. I read a lot of these this year, if not all of them this year. So this is one, like the title says, long fever dream conversation between a woman who is in a hospital bed and she can't really see. She's kind of like just come out of like a coma, and there's a young boy who's sitting next to her and asking her questions, only that's not like her son. And as the conversation goes on, you start to get painted this picture of something that was very wrong and dealt with children and the town and why. Sorry, I'm so pregnant. I'm so tired. Sorry. It's not that these books are boring. I just like this. It's sunny outside, and I have done some chores today, so my energy is low again. And yeah, I found it really gripping. I read it, I think, in 1 or 2 sittings, and I highly recommend it if you are looking for something very short and very creepy. yeah, so Fever Dream was definitely my favorite by Samanta Schweblin. And then I also read Little Eyes. I read Little Eyes first, and again, it's a creepy premise where there are these things called tanukis, which means like little eye. They're little, like, picture Furbies with wheels where they have like cameras, and you can choose to be someone who uses the Furbies and follows people around and watches them in their daily life, or you can be someone who owns one of the tanukis and has it follow you around. So you can be the watcher or the watched, and you follow different people and different like families and different dynamics. And it's very creepy, but I'm not... It's very creepy, but unlike Fever Dream, which I gave like a hard 4 because I was like really invested and I was sucked in immediately and finished it right away, Little Eyes I gave 3.5 because some of the stories and characters I was more interested in than others. But yeah, definitely creepy. And if you like how tech could go wrong stories, that might be for you. And then I also read Mouthful of Birds, which is her short story collection, and I gave it 3 stars. Honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I read it and I have forgotten everything about it. I don't remember a single story from the collection, and that might sound bad, but I think I've read just some amazing short story collections recently, and this didn't really hold a candle to them, in my opinion. So yeah, that's why this is my 4th recommendation, because Samanta Schweblin has I love her creepiness, definitely, but it doesn't always stick for me. So definitely out of hers, I recommend Fever Dream. All right, my number 3 recommendation is the one that I finished this morning. This is Dolores Reyes, who wrote Eartheater, and this was so good. I gave it 4 stars, and it's very dark, and I don't know why. It's rated kind of low on Goodreads, so it's rated at 3.65, but for me it was a solid 4, and I think it's gonna really stick with me because we're following a young girl who is who is dubbed the Eartheater, because if she eats earth or soil or like wet like land from the place where something happened or a person like spent a lot of time, she can see what happened to them and see where they are. And sometimes that means the person is already dead and she's helping someone else find out where their body is. Sometimes the person is missing and she's trying to help them find out like where their location is. And I guess maybe this is so lowly rated because maybe people weren't expecting it to be as dark as it is, but a lot of her visions are truly horrifying, right? Like it's dealing with femicide and kidnapping, torture, rape of women. There are some missing boys as well, but like the majority of the people who are missing are women. And so as this young woman is on the cusp of poverty, living with her brother, she is having to balance kind of wanting to make money and wanting to help people with also the detriment to herself from having to experience these visions, the emotional toll of dealing with all of the people who are like looking for their lost family members, lost lovers, and like the physical toll of eating earth. So I thought that, yeah, it was great, and I really do recommend it. Again, it's very dark because it deals with femicide, and it also deals obviously with other dark elements which go along with femicide, but I thought it was really great. And because of her family's socioeconomic like status, you also see a lot of lower income living in Argentina and what they do to get by, different sort of hustles people have, and how that ties into elements of femicide. So I really recommend that. I gave it 4 stars, and it's number 3 because I just haven't read more. I think that's the only thing Dolores Reyes has currently translated. So I can't wait to see what she does next, because I believe Eartheater came out last year, so fingers crossed. Okay, my number 2 recommendation is Mariana Enriquez, who has written 2 things. They're short story collections. One is The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, which I read earlier this year, and I gave it 4 stars, but it is an extremely strong short story collection. One of the strongest short story collections I've ever read, definitely in my top 10. I'm thinking to do the best short stories I've ever read video, because I realized I don't often read short stories, but like over time, I have maybe 10 that are like really amazing. So maybe I'll do that in the future. Anyway, The Dangers of Smoking in Bed is really, really amazing. It's surreal and brutal and follows like a bunch of different people. So that I have like the themes in this are women in darkness, visceral body horror, gore, changes, life in Argentina, supernatural, which is woven into daily life. And I'll mention like every single story was like a 3.5 or higher for me, which is very rare in a short story collection, but just they were so good. It really reminded me of Salt Slow by Julia Armfeld, which is one of my favorite short story collections of all time. Same, it's like very viscerally dark and centered around female main characters. And this one I just was so good. It has like family bones, ghosts, curses, Ouija, witches, demons, fallen angels, reanimations. Like I said, body horror and gore. Like we all know I like that. So yeah, this collection was pretty much made for me. So ultimately, I really recommend this short story collection, which leads me to the other thing that Enriquez has published, which is Things We Lost in the Fire, which is her first short story collection, which I have on my TBR for this month. I have it, I just haven't read it yet. And from reading reviews, I know that the collections are both of similar tone, only The Dangers of Smoking in Bed is more like surreal and has some fantastical elements, some magical realism, whereas Things We Lost in the Fire is very realistic and grounded in like everyday life and reality. So I'm really looking forward to reading it, obviously, because The Dangers of Smoking in Bed was so excellent. So yeah, those are the 2 for Enriquez that I am. That's why it's number 2. And then finally, my favorite Argentinian woman in translation is Agustina Bazterrica, who wrote Tender is the Flesh, which I gave 4.5 stars. So, okay, not everyone is going to agree with me here, because this is a book about cannibalism, which I get it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea either, like vegan. But I thought it was brilliant. So we're following a man in this dystopian kind of world where a virus has broken out, which makes animal meat poisonous to humans. So instead we start farming other humans as our special meat. And we follow Marcos, who is the manager at one of these special meat plants, when one day he is given a gift of a grade A special meat specimen, which is essentially like a perfectly formed female specimen, and he is supposed to basically kill her and eat her as meat, but he decides not to and keep it a secret. So there is so much commentary in this book about the way we treat animals, the way we treat each other, things that we do in society that are kind of insane if you put them in a different perspective. Like if you just look at it from a different point of view, we're like, oh yeah, why do we do that? That's really bad. So there is so much to talk about in this book. However, I do want to just say it goes there so many times. So like really don't read this book if you are queasy or if you don't like gore or if you can't, it's not like liking it, it's more like if you can stomach it for like the greater narrative, I suppose. But it's really unique and yeah, it's my favorite from Argentina so far. So those are all of the books that I have read, authors I recommend, and ones that I'm really looking forward to from Argentina. Let me know if you have any to recommend me. I know that there are way more than that. Those are just the ones that have really caught my eye and that once I've read them, I've been like, that was some good shit. So yeah, I hope that you found a few books to check out and I will see you in another video soon. Lots of love. Bye!